Right now is such a unique time in the workforce with all these different generations and how they're interacting to different things. We had one example of just communication. Hey, so-and-so, would you please take care of this? And the reaction or response to that, when it is or isn't done, and where everyone's minds go to, well, why did they do that? Well, obviously they're mad, or they're retaliating, or they don't care, or they say they're too busy. All these different examples came up depending on the different generation that person was from.
Welcome back to the Lead Lamp Podcast. This is Brett Wiley. This week, we're here with Curtis Voelker from Central Penn College. He is the Executive Director of College Relations, and we've had a lot of interactions with you through just our work relationship with our group. But I'm excited to have you on and learn a little bit about, what you're doing at the college that helps Central PA.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Brett. And yeah, like you said, it's great to expand our relationship here and really finally get to sit down and have a chat, so to speak.
I know. I've seen you at some of the West Shore Young Professionals events speaking. Obviously, we've done plenty at Central Penn College for CEs and company events where we just run into you running around.
I just
doing
happen
your
to
thing.
be there. Yeah.
You're just always around. So I'm excited though to learn a little bit about your background, kind of what got you involved with Central Penn College. I know you have a deep history with them too. Sure. So I kind of just, let's learn a little bit about Curtis first, and then we'll get into what you're doing there.
Absolutely. So from Adams County, went to Littlestown High School, go Bolts. We had one traffic light in the town. So going through high school, no one in my family really went to college. A lot of my family was in the military. And all through junior, senior year, I was exploring going into the military as an option. And then April of my senior year of high school, very late in the game, I finally decided to consider college as an option. Well, where do I look? Where do I go?
At that point.
Yeah. What options do I consider? So believe it or not, I was on the campus of Central Penn College all 4 years of high school because I was involved in a club, FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. And our region had our competitions on campus. So I was on campus all 4 years of high school, got to meet faculty and staff, get to know them by name. They remembered me each year coming back to campus. Fast forward to senior year. I campaigned for the position of state treasurer for the state organization of FBLA. So high school senior, I'm managing a fundraiser. We raised over, I think, $75,000. Huge experience.
For an 18-year-old kid.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. And it was at this state conference and competition, I met one of the former college presidents. And he ended up recruiting me almost like a football coach would for a player. And I decided, you know what? Central Penn is my next step. I really wanted to go to a place where I was known by name. I didn't feel like student number 652. And like I said, Littlestown had one traffic light at the time. So it wasn't really too much going on. So I was excited to get out of the house and go explore and start that next journey of my life. And came to campus. Believe it or not, one of my high school football coaches took me up for my first visit. So, really thankful for the connections and relationships at Littlestown High School, whether it's coaches, teachers, guidance counselors. April senior year, they really came into play in a huge way to help me figure out those next steps. And
it was like, all right, well, we might have waited a little while, but there's still a big push. We're going to get you across the finish line.
Exactly. And, it's funny you say I might have to wait a little while. It was almost instant because I learned, and now that I work there, we go year round. So spring, summer, winter, fall. That means senior year after high school graduation, I didn't have that long summer break and started in the fall. I started right in July that summer. So hit the ground running.
You had about a month off.
Yeah, exactly. And super glad I did because was able to earn a 4-year bachelor's degree in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So saved a little bit of time, a little bit of money because I was pretty focused once I determined what path I wanted to do. I just wasn't sure at the time who has what I'm looking for, what experience do I want.
What path did you take?
So studied business administration with a focus in marketing. And then I stayed on there as a staff member once I was hired for my master's. And that's a master professional studies in organizational leadership with a concentration in organizational development. So back to that year-round piece, was able to get a bachelor's and a master's in 4.5 years. So just a little bit extra time what it takes to get one degree.
I was going to say it's kind of like a normal 4-year degree.
Almost a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
So such an interesting experience and opportunity considering here was a student in high school who didn't make that decision until April senior year.
All your friends are like, oh, I already know where I'm going. And
my friends had 12, 15 different schools on their list. And here I was, that's the one.
But I mean, but that goes to show you too, and you probably run into this all the time now that you're in the field that you're in.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to feel that pressure. My kids aren't at that stage yet. They're very young, but I hear about it from other parents where there's this pressure. You have to, like, almost by the end of your junior year, if you don't have something picked, like, there's a lot of pressure on these 17, 16-year-old kids to pick where they're going to go to school and do what they want to do for the next 30, 40 years of their life at 17.
Sure.
So, like, that's a good example of that. Like, don't hesitate too long, but you know, at the same time, like, if you don't really know what you want to do, like, there is time and you can figure it out, and you can start even later. I mean, sure, you see that a lot too, where, you don't have to start right out of college. Right out of high school. You can make a career change or make a decision on your career path a couple years later, a lot of years later. There's a lot of times where people change direction and it ends up being just fine.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's so funny. You mentioned, maybe I see it directly, and we didn't talk about this during our little prep conversation before we started. One of the facts I love about my role is I go into the high schools through the spring and the fall, talking with juniors and seniors. And I'm seeing more and more with high schools, they're starting earlier and earlier to at least introduce the resources that are out there to help students figure out where they want to go, what they want to do, and who they want to be.
Is it a lot different? So I don't see it as much. Obviously, I'm not in high school anymore, but like, is there more education on teaching kids what's available there? What's available after high school than when we were in high school?
I would say yes. Depends on the school, depends on the area. And that's actually where I come in my role, is to help out those schools that maybe don't have the time or capacity to fill those certain areas. So in working within our region, our 7-county region, Cumberland, Dauphin, Lancaster, Lebanon, Perry, York, Adams, they're the main areas we really try to recruit and talk with for most of the time. We'll also go to Philly, Allentown, really throughout the state. We do interactive classroom presentations to help students understand what to look for, think about, consider in their post-secondary search. So we're not going in the classroom doing a 45-minute Central Penn commercial. We share a little bit of info in between. Hey, we are here. We're an option, but here are things you want to think about for your search overall.
Right.
And you always have students that maybe tune us out right away because they say, oh, great, there's a college speaker coming in. I know I'm not going to college.
There's another one.
Yeah. Right. But I love sharing with them, college is no longer just that 4-year on-campus experience. If you're someone who wants to go into the trades, you want to do plumbing, that's awesome. Let's say you graduate high school and then 5 years down the road, you get home one night and you're saying, man, I like being a plumber, but I don't like working for Bill. Let's say that's your boss's name. I want to do this on my own. What can I do? Well, you can still engage with us as an example. As a college, we have an entrepreneurship certificate. It takes 9 months. It's fully online. So it's not 4 years and it's not living on a college campus. It's something you can almost customize, if you will, to fit the needs of your schedule. So that's one way we try to help. But what I see some other local area high schools do are their guidance teams are great with getting in the classrooms just like us, doing workshops, financial aid workshops, even for the parents, which I think is also another layer to it, not just educating students, but parents and families as well, on top of things like mock interviews, partnering with organizations and employers in the area to come sit and have a conversation with this year's group of students and get them ready with their resume, their cover letter, interviewing skills.
Because chances are, and this is kind of like whenever we were getting into the workforce compared to when our parents were, like, parents now are, what generation would that be? I don't even know. Parents now, when they had to apply for their jobs or their first jobs, it was way different than what it is today. Even so, and that'll never end. Like, when my kids are older, it won't be like it was when I had to apply for a job. So it's interesting that you're teaching them and educating them on how to do that, directing them the best ways to do that now, and working with real situations, real employers now. Versus just the parent saying, well, when I had to get a job, you had to do it this way. And you probably run into a lot of that too, where it's like, what people think you have to do now from different generation teaching their kids to do it is different from what it actually is.
Sure. And I think everything at every level has pretty much changed in that regard. In terms
it will
of,
again.
How do you apply for that job? And then what does work look like now in this current time? I mean, I'm sure parents never would have thought about the flexibility and ease of remote working, online working.
Flex work.
And to hear that their child may have a future career and they never have to leave their home. So
it could be across the country.
The future's awesome.
Your boss could be in California and you're getting just as much work done 4,000 miles away, somewhere else. But, and it's not that the work is less quality. It's just, it's just different now. And, I think maybe my generation on the edge of that, where, I do enjoy coming into the office.
Yeah.
You're probably similar. You're
Absolutely.
very personable and like being around people too. So it's like, I kind of thrive off of being at a workplace, but then at the same time, it is nice to have that flexibility to,
Sure.
my kids they're sick one day so I can work from home or whatever. But, I do sometimes struggle with that in between, but then there's a lot of people that are even younger than us that are like, no, I love it. Like all I want to do is remote work, and they'll probably outwork me remotely compared to what I could, but they're geared differently towards it.
And I think there's something to be said for, one, an organization that's able to identify, work with, and meet the different needs and preferences of their employees, just like you mentioned. But also on the second side of it, how you mentioned, I love going into work. There's a lot of things that those remote workers are not going to be in terms of sharpening their skills or experiencing the interplay of social dynamics within the workplace.
Yeah, you saw a ping pong table.
Exactly. Yeah. First thing I see when I walk into your office is a ping pong table. What an awesome first impression. Just those experiences that you're building with your coworkers and teammates each day on these projects. There's a lot to be said for growth and development between those dynamics.
Yeah. It's easy in person. Not that there's a lot of value to remote work too, but it's easy in person to have a 10-minute ping pong game and laugh and everyone's having a good time. And you go back to work, but now you're kind of re-energized. Yeah. You just built a bond with your colleagues, and, there's a lot to say about that. But then there's a lot to say about, the flexibility of family time and personal time with remote work. So that kind of leads into some of the workforce development stuff. I know that's the main heart of what you wanted to talk about. Explain what kind of started that, and then, because you've probably been through an evolution of work, of different things you've been working on at Central Penn College, but explain what started the workforce development programs and kind of what you're doing now that really invigorates you to kind of keep building these programs out.
Sure thing. So to continue this conversation in terms of that evolution of work, 2020, we had something happen. I don't know if we can still say it, but I'll say it. The pandemic happened. So we're working from home, and we're having students reach out and say, hey, I'm changing industries, I'm changing roles. I want to show I'm a continuous learner, but I do not have the time or resources to devote to a full-fledged 4-year bachelor's degree. Even if going accelerated with us, I can earn it in 3, I still don't have that time.
They got work, they got kids, they got
and we're not sure what tomorrow is going to bring during that time when all of that was happening. What can I do? What are my options? So the college released or launched about 20 different short-term certificates. And when I say short-term, that means about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Or 6 to 9 months. So about 6 courses for each certificate, about 18 credits, if you will. So we really wanted to meet the needs of our community. And not only were individuals reaching out in that aspect, we also had organizations or employers saying, hey, now all these new people shifting gears, I'm identifying some talent here that I need to upskill, retrain, retool.
With their current team.
Yeah. Or new people coming in. Exactly.
Like an onboarding.
Exactly. Here are the skills that we need them to have. Here are the learning objectives we need. We see you have this certificate or this class, but could we tailor fit or tweak it this way? So then we created at the college our Center for Workforce Excellence. And one example that really illustrates this is the Giant Company. So if you've done any grocery shopping in Central PA, I'm sure you've seen or been in a Giant grocery store.
At least heard of one.
Exactly. So they came to us and we communicated with them, and they said, we have had people in bakery, deli, cashiers that have been with us since high school. Some of them may have some college education. Most of them probably don't. Here are the learning objectives we need to hit. Central Penn, what can we build together to get our people trained and upskilled in the world of management and leadership? So we created a completely custom 6-course, 18-credit certificate, fully online, asynchronous, meaning it's at your own pace as long as you get your assignments done by their due date.
Deadlines.
Exactly. So, but the great thing is you don't have to be on your computer Wednesday at 7 p.m. for live instruction. So if you need to work 30 minutes Monday through Friday and then 4 hours on Saturday to finish up that paper, you can work with your schedule for that. So we're now in our 5th year of partnership with the Giant Company. Our 6th cohort just started last week. We did 2 cohorts in 1 year. So that's how we got 6 and 5.
That's awesome.
And historically, we've had over 100 graduates from this program earning an 18-credit certificate.
And the goal with that program, that specific program, is to, I've been working at the deli or the bakery at Giant for 20 years now. It's like the only thing I've known. But I have the ability to become a manager, or Giant sees in me that, I could climb through Giant a little bit farther than what I have been. So that program is tailored specifically to creating managers or to creating leaders within the Giant company, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So looking at the big picture. So you may be doing great work in the bakery, but how do we look beyond the bakery? And also, how do we understand how does that bakery work within all the other departments of that store to keep that cycle going? So they're having courses on emotional intelligence, principles of management, organizational behavior, process improvement. And it's designed to give them applicable skills to use personally and professionally as soon as they're out of that course. Whether they're going back in the store, they're on a team meeting, whatever it might be, start to highlight and identify areas where they can utilize what they're learning from the classes.
That's awesome. And then I'm speaking for Giant.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I could be corrected. But that is a huge, I mean, it's a large investment on Giant's part, but in the long run, it's probably a large savings too. And it's a large increase in productivity, decrease in turnover. But then you're also able to identify people from within Giant that you can promote and that know Giant very well, know that store or that company well, because they've been there for a decade.
Right.
And Giant has the confidence then to make them a manager or make them whatever, a department lead. And they don't have to retrain them on the company. They're developing these skills for a small investment, but then it's probably much more effective than having someone from the outside come in to manage a new part of the store, because everyone knows that person already.
Yeah.
They know Curtis was already very good at the bakery, but now he's leading it. And look how awesome it's doing.
Yeah, there we go. You do not want me in a bakery, by the way.
Well, yeah.
I'll take a grill, but not a bakery.
All right. Well, then you can do the hot foods. But no, but that's what it is though. Like, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but for Giant, it's a huge value, or any of these companies, it's a huge value because now you're taking people that you have identified that you want to invest in. You're sending them to these programs. They're coming back with more skills, whether they climb climb through the ladder at Giant or these other companies, or they don't. Maybe they're comfortable where they're at. Sure. But now they're working with their colleagues better. They're managing their time better, or they're becoming more efficient with other departments even better. So it's a win-win across the board.
And why I love doing this type of work with a college as a resource and a background is all the things you just mentioned, we actually provide each time the cohort is done in terms of an ROI. We have pre and post test analysis with the different courses where we actually measure and track increases in things like hope, resiliency, optimism, positive thinking, or increases in here's where I came into the course with my understanding of management principles. And now we see here's an average of a 40% increase overall for our cohort as an example. So all those things you mentioned exactly, we are tracking and sharing with the Giant company.
Some of those are hard to track.
Yeah.
But even like the fulfillment of my daily job. Like,
sure.
If you've been there for a while, traditionally those are some roles that can kind of become mundane. Yeah. But if you're giving them the skills to feel like they're making an impact on their job, or they're making a difference and they're improving a process or whatever, now there's some fulfillment with that, and they can have some pride going into their job. And that's not that job in general. That's any job. If you're not constantly becoming better, you can get stagnant. So that's a great way to not get stagnant.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great example of our customization of 4 credit opportunities. We've also done some pretty cool ones that firsthand on the non-credit side working with your crew. I think there was about 50 of you a year or two ago around the springtime, I believe, for communication and further leadership training as well.
Yeah, I think it was our practice administrators and some of our treatment coordinators that was sent on the dental group side that was sent over. But like I said, we've done a lot with you, and I know you have some other programs too, but how do you begin to work with a company like the Giant company or, a dental group or any of the other types of businesses that you are molding these programs around? Right. And I'm sure this will be another question. This could lead into a different thing. So how do you begin to work with them to tailor a program that works within that industry? Sure. Because I'm sure some of them you're like, I don't know how we're going to do that, but we'll figure it out. Right. And then also, are some of them specific to like what Giant needs and how that works within their company? Or are some of them just industry specific, but this company knows there's a need in that industry, so we need to develop a program around that?
Yes to all of that.
Okay.
So I'll
So it could be
start
either one.
Yeah. So I'll start with, in terms of reaching out to connect. It's relationship building. It's connecting. There may be a mutual friend of ours that helped us connect for the non-credit training for your team.
Could have been. Yeah.
So it's examples like that in the Central PA community, connecting, seeing podcasts like this out on social media. Hey, I saw so-and-so was on there. I want to reach out and connect and learn more. So opportunities like that. And then once we get in that conversation, exactly like you mentioned, hey, I know you said you're looking for this and this. We're not sure yet how we're going to get there, but we'll figure it out together. And that's the true form of authentic partnership that I like to try to bring to the table in terms of partnering with the Center for Workforce Excellence. And I really like to say that we're not just handing you our course catalog and then you circle your wish list.
Yeah.
We may do that to help you get a feel and understand of what you're looking for.
It's not a menu at a restaurant.
Exactly. We can do a la carte and custom meals if you want to keep that restaurant example there.
Do you find that you're able to partner, like, okay, Central Penn College, I'm going to make up a scenario.
Yeah.
We'll put you on the spot.
Sure.
So, maybe I have a automotive garage or two. I own two garages in the area. We do general car repairs, whatever.
Yeah.
I want to work with Central Penn College to set up a program for my maintenance mechanics or whatever. I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know all the terms, but I have like some lower level, entry level mechanics. They're doing oil changes and stuff, but I want to set up a program where they can learn to lead a team. Maybe they can learn to be a shop manager, a maintenance manager, or whatever it is. But then maybe Central Penn College doesn't have the background in automotive mechanics.
Sure.
Maybe you do. What you would be able to work with any kind of program like that just through your business connections. Like, hey, maybe we don't have that at our campus,
right?
But we can work to set up something and give us some time to kind of look into it. We can partner with some businesses because you guys have a lot of connections and maybe set up a program like this.
Yeah, great example. And really, it doesn't necessarily matter what the industry is because with your example, you went right to leadership skills. Yeah. What we're finding is no matter what the industry is, it's all coming back to interpersonal skills, social skills, leadership and management, communication.
They already are good mechanics.
Exactly.
It's the next step.
And we're not a tech school in the sense of the trades where we're not going to be teaching you how to work on the car. We're going to teach you how to connect with the customer to explain how you worked in the car or working with that teammate.
Chances are they already went to school for A, whatever they're doing.
Exactly.
You're trying to give them B, which is like the interpersonal skills, like
for sure. So a great example of that is the year that we had the training with you. That same year, we also had a plumbing company and a health and human services organization, a nonprofit reach out. And the funny thing is, all three of these industries, so dental, plumbing, health, human service, nonprofit, all were requesting management, leadership, communication training. So then right there with your example, doesn't matter the industry. The other fold I like to bring into it is we did all three of those programs, 3 different modalities. So with your team, depending on the program we looked at through the year, some of them we did in person and some of them we actually had a blended program with you guys as well. The plumbing team, we actually went on site with their leadership team, and with the health and human services nonprofit organization we partnered with, they all came to us through campus. So whether it was in person on campus, on site with them, online, we really try to meet the needs anyway as best as possible. Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's a lot of and you probably heard this too. There's a lot of people that are like, well, my business is different. Like we got to train, like whatever it is, whether it's you're coaching someone on their business or you're offering them training for their teams. Initially people think, well, how could that benefit mine? My business is different. We don't have a executive team, or we don't have a administrative office. We're kind of all boots on the ground, like a plumbing company.
Yeah.
But there is still something to be said, even though everyone thinks their business is different, at the core of it, you're all the same. It's a group of people trying to accomplish tasks. So there still needs to be some leadership and personal training with that.
If you have humans working for your organization, partnering with Central Penn College's Center for Workforce Excellence is for you.
You're not that different.
Yeah, right. Yeah. One of the quotes, I forget the exact quote and what class it came up and what professor said it, but during my master's program at Central Penn, the quote was something like, if one of the best ways to disrupt a perfect system is to throw a human in it. We can do a lot of great things, but we can also mess a lot of things up.
You can really be a bull in a china shop sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're all guilty of it sometimes too, because that's the other thing too is, and we could talk about like styles of management that you guys teach too, because what might work for me and my personality probably won't work for you and your personality. Yeah. And you really need to get people to understand that what you're teaching probably isn't one size fits all either.
Right.
So like I said, we could be in the same class, and I find that there's a handful of things that I would really like to implement or work for myself.
Yeah.
Where you would take out a completely different thing out of that.
Sure. I think one of the best examples I've had with that recently is we've expanded our partnership with Giant through non-credit training. So last year, my main instructor and I for the Center for Workforce and Excellence, we traveled throughout the state of Pennsylvania and we trained around 200 Giant store managers.
Oh, wow.
So this is a non-credit program, and there was a custom-built one-day foundation and application level training with things like the psychology of a manager.
And you're going to all the different Giants.
Yeah, it was mainly between Carlisle and Philly. They worked with us, thankfully, on having 2 specific sites, but still traveling throughout the state throughout the year. It was a pretty awesome experience. And any session, there could have been 20, 30, 15 different managers, different positions. So there may be manager of the bakery, manager of the deli, store manager, assistant store manager. They have managers for different parts of the store region and things like that. And you hit the nail on the head, different perspectives. Because the other thing we started to notice, and we're working this into a revision of our training as well, the generational concept. Right now is such a unique time in the workforce with all these different generations and how they're interacting to different things. We had one example of just communication. Hey, so-and-so, would you please take care of this? And the reaction or response to that, when it is or isn't done, and where everyone's minds go to, well, why did they do that? Well, obviously they're mad, or they're retaliating, or they don't care, or they say they're too busy. All these different examples came up depending on the different generation that person was from.
You were talking about generations in the workplace. I'm just going to go back to the intro to that.
Yeah.
Is this I think I've seen this stat. Is this period of time the most diverse age range of people working?
Because I'm not sure.
Because I mean, there has to be. I mean, I know when you have people even in our post-retirement that it's in their mid-70s, early 80s that are still working, whether it is for income or it's just because there's some busybodies. Right. There are a bunch of them out there, and I just feel like there's such a wide range of people that are still working especially when you go to places like, a grocery store where someone who might have retired, but they still need something to do, or, they just got to get out of the house, or they do need it for some income. They go to a place like this where it is a job that they can still, complete a task and get a paycheck out of it. I didn't know if you knew anything about like the diversity in age ranges from during this time versus like 20, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Without citing anything specifically, I would put a very good, strong guess on it. But I think it goes back to how we were talking earlier. Let's say this is potentially the most diverse time generationally for the workforce. Now you compound that with all the different ways you can interact with the business. We're talking grocery stores. Who would have thought maybe someone's been in the grocery game for 30, 40 years. Now you're ordering your mobile order and you pull up the parking lot. You don't have to get out. You don't have to talk to anyone. You pop your trunk. It's in there. So all of those different aspects we talked about in terms of the evolution of work now combined with all these different generations and how are they handling it and their perspective on whether they like it, they don't, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah. It's very interesting. It's a crazy time. And that's not just in the grocery industry. I know we got stuck on the grocery industry for a while, but that's every industry. Like, and I'm sure, do you guys see that with what you're probably going to constantly have to evolve? This is a newer program at Central Penn, compared to the age of Central Penn College, but it'll be interesting to see how you evolve that program that you have now, where you're able to cater to what happens in any of these industries 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever, 20 years from now. AI is going to change a lot of things, whether we believe it or not. It will, and it already is. So, it's kind of a neat and quickly changing environment. And you probably are able to be more flexible with it because it's not a standard program where it's, 3 or 4 years that you're getting your degree. You're talking 6 to 18 months, you said, from some of these certificate-based programs. So it probably, does that afford you guys the ability to kind of like, okay, well, we need to pull a fast one over here and switch this around because we see whatever's changing, or we heard from one of our our companies that we work
Sure.
with that this is now going to change?
Yeah, exactly. So great example. And this goes back to the second part of questions that I wanted to get to in terms of, do you have already made stuff that's related to industry needs? And to that point of pivoting, when you see there's things changing in that industry. So some of the newer certificates that we've launched on top of those 21s we launched with the pandemic, certificates in fields like childcare, hotel and restaurant management, working with partners, getting their feedback on, hey, we're looking at finalizing this creation, or we're doing some edits to this program. What are you seeing in your industry, in your field, that we need to come to the table as a great community partner, as a college in your backyard? What do we need to revitalize our program with? What should we throw in there to make sure that it's meeting the needs for your team? These are the conversations we're having with local area businesses throughout the region to make sure that we're not just packaging something together and saying, here it is, isn't it great?
Yeah.
Well, no, we want to hear from you. Is this built to meet your needs?
Okay. The next thing I was going to ask was, you send a person through, an employee through these programs, or they take one of the 21 courses or 21 certificates that aren't like, you don't have to be with a company, like you don't have to be with one of our companies to take their standard or their specialized course. You can do one of our certificates. Do those translate into later? I have my certificate. You said you get credits for it.
Yeah.
Do those translate into maybe turning them into a bachelor's degree later?
I love that question. Yeah. So that's a foundational mindset we keep when we're building all these different things. We like to call it a ladder style of programming.
Okay.
So you're climbing each rung of the ladder. So you start with certificate. We're going to try to build those 18 credits or however big the custom certificate is, if it's with a company, whatever it is, to roll them into an associate's, into a bachelor's, and keep learning. So all at one school, you could potentially earn a certificate, associate, bachelor's, master's. The Giant certificate, as example, those 18 credits are designed to roll into a bachelor's of business administration.
Nice.
To promote continuous learning. So yeah, that's a goal for any program we try to launch.
But yeah, and if it's not, like some of the ones we had one that was a certificate that was non-credit.
Right.
But it's you make it clear up front, like these are non-credit ones.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to be in a trap where people are like, well, I thought I got credit for that. But that is great too, because someone, either whether they're doing it through their company, through their employer, or they decide to do a certificate on their own, and they find it through your inventory of courses online, they can pick and choose from, whether they're online or in person. Yeah. I might be in a position where, like you said, whether it's my time or maybe my budget, my personal budget doesn't afford me to be able to do a bachelor's degree right now or an associate degree or master's, but I can chip away at it.
Right.
Maybe I have a 10-year goal to finish getting my bachelor's or my associate or my master's. I mean, I can chip away at that at my time through, shuttling my kids to dance or doing other things. And I don't need to feel pressured to sign up for a 3.5 or 4-year program to get my bachelor's right now.
Right. Exactly.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and it's right here. So if I do need to take some courses in person, I can arrange my schedule to do that. Or maybe I can take some online ones now.
Right.
And then shuffle ones later on. So I know next year, hey, I need to arrange for some time to get me into the class to do these in-person courses.
There we go.
So I think that's amazing. Now I don't want to shift away from the workforce development, but let's kind of talk about Central Penn College.
Sure.
So like my mom even went to Central Penn College.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Way
Very
back
cool.
when it was like more of a business admin type school. And so I've heard some stories from when she went there and, just kind of the evolution of Central Penn College. I think personally, I've seen kind of a revitalization of Central Penn College from maybe 20, I don't want to date myself, but like 20 or more years ago when the idea of continuing my education after high school was around till now. I see it everywhere. Like I don't know if that was a distinct change in Central Penn College recently, but I mean, within the last 10 years, it is appearing all over the place. Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to how we talked about earlier, looking at how do we meet the needs of our community, our employers, people who are looking to pivot and maybe don't have the time. And like you said, being flexible and making those changes on the spot as we need to meet the demands of what people are looking for. But I'll take it even a further step back. So a lot of people don't realize we have roots tracing back to 1881. So pretty historical college here in the region. We were originally founded on Market Street in Harrisburg. And then in 1970, the campus where it is now, as we know it today, was brought over. to Summerdale or Nola, depending on what side of the street you're standing on.
Yeah.
So the land that we're on was actually originally farmland to a family that owned all of campus. And their original farmhouse, the Boyer House, is still on campus till this day. So a lot of people don't realize we go back that far. So the 1970, as you mentioned, more of a business training school, Central Pennsylvania Business College. And then every couple decades or so, we kept evolving and growing and adapting. And then about 2010, 2011, we had a rebranding process, Central Penn College.
That explains.
And early 2000s, we had approval for offering bachelor's degrees. And now here we are in 2025, certificates, associates, bachelor's, master's, do non-credit training, all the customization stuff we just talked about, have been fully online since 2004. Some other things people don't realize, we're a fully residential campus. We have students living on campus year round. Pretty awesome that every student gets their own room first day they move in. No one has to have a college roommate. Kind of unheard of.
You're not like getting that unknown roommate.
Yeah. Kind of unheard of in the college world. And you have that all the way through graduation. You're only sharing a bathroom with one person, not 40 people like a dormitory floor. Nothing wrong with that compared to the typical college experience. But if you're looking for something a little bit more independent or personable, there you go.
I was going to say it's like the benefits of a bigger school, but on a smaller campus.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final thing that I love sharing in the high school classrooms, and some eyebrows really perk up, you can bring your car. First day you move in as a freshman, have it there the whole time, free parking your entire time. And it doesn't really click just yet with the high school students. They sit there like, okay, I may have to pay like $200 a semester at other schools. Well, that really starts to add up. So we're trying to take care of everything we can in terms of saving you time, money, stress. Focus on going to class, getting that work done, get that education and that training. But what I'd love to speak to an experience perhaps your mom had, and I had as well, when I was a student, and perhaps when she was, we had an appearance policy or a dress code. So I was showing up to my business classes in a suit each day, so I was used to it. About 2013, we looked at that and understood, hey, college students, you're already paying for college. You're on a tight budget. Maybe it's not cost effective to have that as a requirement. Plus, again, adapting to workforce needs. We saw at that time more and more businesses are going to business casual with jeans or khakis or polos. So still giving them understanding and training of when's the time to wear that suit for that interview.
Occasion.
Exactly.
Right.
And something that came out of that to help address the need with affordable clothing and things like that, we actually have a career closet on our campus where students can walk down and find suits, ties, heels, skirts, or even scrubs if they're in the medical field, if they need them for their internship, their interview.
That's amazing.
Find it. If it fits you, it's yours. Because if you need it for your interview, you'll need it for the first day when you get the job too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, like, just another way that I wouldn't have thought, like that, I would have never thought to have had that. Like that's a really interesting concept. Now, the other thing you were talking about, dress to the occasion, is definitely taking a massive shift. Probably, you guys said around 2013, you noticed that, and you made the initiative to change that. But I feel like 5 years ago, events that happened 5 years ago, that was another major shift. In not necessarily just attire, but like how workplaces are tailoring to their employees' needs and vice versa. So like, have you also noticed, not just within attire, but like just the way workforces or workplaces are making sure their people are taken care of in the workplace has changed since 2019, pre-pandemic to today?
Yeah, I think I love this example that we do at the college. So we're still in professional dress, business casual for a lot of things. And we share with all of our teammates at the school, identify what type of event or meeting you're going into and dress to the occasion, as you mentioned. But so Wednesdays, we have dress down for scholarships, Jeans for Scholarships program. Oh, nice. So yes, we're working with our teams at the college, but doing it in a fun way that's, again, going back to support our students. So making a donation to our education foundation for student scholarships, you can dress down and wear jeans for the day. Nice. So it's kind of meeting in the middle. Yeah, we can have our fun and relax a little bit, but it's still going towards a great cause.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, how do companies or groups, organizations, whatever, get in touch with Central Penn College about specifically about the career and workforce development program?
Yeah. They can check us out at centralpenn.edu. they can either click the tab on advancement or partnerships, or I can give my direct email on the podcast. If that works too. Yeah. If we can do a little tickler or something like that on the bottom with some cool edits, Joe will take care of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll not only do it, we can put it on the video as well, but we'll throw in the show notes too.
Cool.
We can throw your contact information in there just in case anyone's looking to reach out.
The magic of technology.
I know. You can just click a link now and we'll email Curtis.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, I appreciate you coming on and sharing. I mean, there's probably double the amount that we could talk about.
Oh yeah,
with it.
For sure.
But it's interesting to see how you guys at Central Penn College are evolving probably a little faster than some of the, I don't like to pick on the bigger schools too.
I understand. Yeah.
But we even see it in technology and marketing, even like for what you're learning versus what you implement in the field it's still lagging behind.
Yeah.
Even today, it takes a while for it to be implemented into a curriculum, but it seems like you guys are a little bit more on the bleeding edge of that, being able to change quicker with some of these programs. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us.
We appreciate that. Yeah, we're a small but mighty school. We're quick and nimble, and we want to be responsive as quick as possible to meet the needs of our friends out there in the community.